Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to talk about different architectures. What are those architectures and in which context, right? So I'm talking about the application architectures and the different FinOps strategies which comes with all those architectures, or which does not come really, but we can map those FinOps strategies with all those application architectures, right? So what are those architectures and how we can map those, right? And those can be mapped with cloud platforms, including Azure, AWS, and Google, as well as other cloud platforms as well, right? And basis on that, definitely we should be able to map those FinOps strategies with each of those, right? So what are those, right? So I'll share my screen quickly and show you, right? So this is going to be a PowerPoint presentation only. So I'm not going to show a demo or something like that, but more onto the PowerPoint presentation and walk you through all these architectures, what are the challenges, benefits, and how we can map the FinOps strategies with it, right? So let me share my screen and we should be good here. All right. So here you can see, let me do the full, I think it is not allowing. So let me do the presentation mode first, and then I'll reshare the screen, right? That is going to give us the complete view. All right. So you can see that I'm talking about all of these architectures and mapping the FinOps strategies with it. So when it comes to applications architecture, which includes the monolith, which is monolithic, right? Microservices, serverless, and containers, right? So first is monolith. Let's understand about monolith and we can move ahead. Okay, so first is monolithic architecture, right? What is it, right? So it's going to be a single unified code base with UI logic and data in one deployable units. What does that mean is everything is going to be packaged together and pushed through a particular server or particular uh, space where we wanted to deploy. For example, it could be hosted on Azure App Service, right? So in the Azure, it could be hosted or deployed in the AWS GCP as well at the same time, right? And those are the different methods where we will bind together UI, logic, and data. So all those three layers would be put together and deployed as a single unit or deployed as a single package, right? So that's going to be monolithic architecture. And you can see the simple example of, let's say, e-commerce application. We're using .NET Core in the Azure context, but similarly on the different cloud platforms as well. And you would see the benefits as well. Easy to deploy or develop, simple deployments and low latency because everything is going to be in the same one, right? But when it comes to the challenges, you would see hard to scale uh, differently or parts independently, and there are limitations on CI/CD as well when it comes to do the streamlining of deployment process using CI/CD methods and trying to deploy applications in a faster pace, right? So that is also a big challenge on this one, right? So this is how it is going to be, right? So now let's look at the FinOps strategy, how we can map it with monolithic architecture, right? So here you can see the aspects and insights, including cost optimization, pass fit, and FinOps actions, right? So the first one on the cost side, where we can see the cheaper on early, which is going to be bundled together on a particular compute instances. And we really don't have to spin up many different services and compute power, so that is also going to help us save the cost, right? On the optimization side, which is hard to isolate underutilized service or instance because we are using one instance or one stronger instance, right? Or compute power where we won't be able to identify and isolate how much is being used. Definitely, we need to look into the different options, how we wanted to use it, and whether we can either do the additional options for the optimization, like right sizing or saving plans and all of that stuff, but still that is something not really possible, right? So uh, on the others is which is cloud, which is a pass fit one, right? Which is on the Azure as well as on the uh, AWS and GCP, right? Just a minute here. All right. Sure. Let me share that screen again quickly here. Perfect. So you can see that on the PassFit, which has a similar services which can allow us to deploy such kind of applications on all of these cloud platforms, right? Including Azure, AWS, and GCP. And on the FinOps actions, which we can use auto scaling, reserved instances, profiled usage, and all those metrics would help us to identify and save cost, right? So these are the FinOps views which we can bind and map together with monolith architecture for the application. And this is going to be giving us an opportunity to save cost, right? So let's move to the next one. The next one is microservices architecture, right? So what is it and how it works? So let's say it's a split application into independent services, which is going to be different independent service is going to run for different actions, basically. For example, inventory, orders, payment, right, along with the buckets and all those options, right? And for example, if I have to order something online, I can simply go get into the application and add items into the bucket, right? And from there, I can do that. All right, just a minute here. All right. Okay, so let's talk about on the examples, right? And I was talking about this scenario where I am trying to order something, right? So now when I order something from any of the online platforms or any of the e-commerce or any other platform like Amazon or any other, right? So what is going to happen is only the respective service is going to be activated or intervene because whatever the service is responsible for that, and that's going to be utilizing the underlying infrastructure and workload to be able to process and cater that request, right? So that's going to be the microservices architecture. Microservices in short is there is a separate service for each action or each capability, right? And only that respective service is going to be moving ahead with the actions, whatever actions we are putting in, right? So this is how it is going to be. For example, for payment, we have used Node.js notifying it is going to be the Go across AKS and EKS. Both are Kubernetes services platforms or services in Azure AKS and AWS EKS, right? So those are mentioned over here, right? And benefit side, you can see independent scaling, faster deployments, and fault isolation, right? Why these are the benefits over here, right? There are many other benefits, but I have mentioned only few so that those are pretty straightforward to understand and know as well. So independent scaling, that means any service which is called out, that means respective service is going to be putting and scaling as expected and is going to work and deliver the results. Similarly, on the faster deployment, where we can work on independent services separately and deploy those as expected, and it's going to work in the isolated environment or isolated way where there is a fault isolation mentioned over there, right? So there is no dependency on other services at all. But you can see there is a challenge, which is complex communication, operations overhead, and distributed tracing, right? So these are the different challenges over here as well, wherein there is a complex communication between different services, and that is really needs to be bind together so that whatever we are deploying, building, and is being used, that is going to be in align with the processes and is going to work, right? And different or distributed tracing is also one of the challenge there, that is not really allowing us to track each and every actions of each microservice basically, right? And that is why we have to uh, use it, right? So that way it is going to be pushed together. All right, so let's go ahead. So now let's see the FinOps view of microservices, right? Here you can see the aspect and insights again with the cost, which is expensive if not optimized correctly, right? That is something which is going to be the costly, and the optimization way where we can granular service level usage on the PaaS fit, which is going to be used with the AKS on the Azure side, ECS Fargate on the AWS, and Cloud Run on Google Cloud Platform, right? So these are the services where we can use it. And FinOps actions would be to use Azure Container Apps, Fargate Spot instances, and KubeCost, right? So these are the few insights, but there are many other ways as well which we can use, and that is going to be giving us an options and opportunities to save cost effectively as well. But yeah, to do that, we have to do it appropriately, and you can see the under the cost one where it says expensive if we are not doing it appropriately and optimized correctly, right? So that is what it should be. So next is serverless architecture, right? So what is it? It is going to be functions run on demand, and there's no infrastructure management at all, right? Because everything is going to be a managed service across the cloud platform, including Azure, AWS, and GCP. And in this context, you can see the Azure function triggered by order created, updates DB, something like that. So this is just one of the example, but there are many other examples and use cases that we can use, and that's going to give us the different requirements as well, right? On the benefit side, we would see pay-per-use, auto-scaled, and fast deployments. That means which really is going to be benefit and which allows us to scale this capability as expected whenever we wanted to. And the cost is going to be pay per use. That means if there are certain calls which are happening and only those actions would be called out and we have to pay only for that, right? And the deployment is going to be faster because everything is going to be ready. That means underlying infrastructure is being ready and we don't have to provision it, and we just have to create or spin up the service. And the challenges you can see, which is a cold starts, vendor lock-in, unsuitable for long time task or long tasks, right? So these are something, those are challenges which we will face during the initials, right? So not only initials, but on any time, right? Be it challenges, vendor lock-in, that means if we are using any specific platforms, that means that's going to be not suitable with other cloud platforms because each vendor or each platform has a different capabilities to run all those capabilities and services, right? So that's the vendor lock there, right? So let's look at the FinOps one. So you can see aspects and insights for this one and cost effective for busty workloads, which is going to be very useful when there are such workloads which might not be suitable in other architectures, be it monolith or any other, right? But in the serverless, that's going to be fit. On the optimization, we can see deep observability with built-in tools to get the visibility and control, and we should be able to find and observe those and uh, do the optimization effectively. On the pass bit, you can see Azure function, Azure Lambda, and GCP function. So these are the few services which falls under serverless computing or serverless capability across the cloud platforms, and we can leverage for the same. And on the FinOps action, where we have some of the options where we can tune in the memory, timeouts, monitoring with X-rays and insights. So these are the few insights that can be used to tune in and to put the FinOps actions together on it, right? So let's move to the next one, which is containerized architecture. What is it? Apps packaged as containers orchestrated by AKS, EKS, and Cloud Run in three cloud platforms, Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud. Examples is going to be API, front end, and worker as Docker containers, right? So these are the few examples as well in the containers architecture, right? And the benefits is going to be portable, CI/CD friendly, and consistent for the environments, right? Which is going to be consistent at all the levels, right? So that is something which is going to be benefit as well. And the challenges, you can see there is needs of orchestration, complexity at scale. When we wanted to expand it on particular scale level, that's going to be a complex or challenge in this scenario, right? So overall, you have seen that each architecture has one or the other challenge there, and not everything or not all are fit for each one. So it is definitely a area or a way to make sure and decide whether whichever is going to be the correct one for our needs and use cases. So on the FinOps view for this containerization, which is going to be cost, which is efficient with horizontal scaling and spot instances. On the optimization, granular visibility. On the pass fit, container apps, AWS app runners, and GCP Cloud Run, right? And on the FinOps action, which is auto scaling, right size containers, and use dashboards, right? So that way it is going to be the one, right? And all those FinOps views would be mapped with it, right? So that is how it is going to be, right? So let's look at the architecture view, including architecture plus PaaS plus FinOps, right? So let's talk about one by one in short. So on the use case based architecture, PaaS fit and FinOps angle on it, MVP and startups would go with monolith. Now, it is not something every requirement should go with this one or suggested one, but also depending on the requirements, how we wanted to use this, uh, all those services, optimize it from the cost ways, as well as how we should go ahead and use platform as a service as well, right? So by choosing the right set of architecture, including PaaS and mapping the FinOps with it, definitely is going to be very helpful and game changer for long term as well, right? So FinOps fit app service, app engine, low cost, simple monitoring, scalable application needs microservices. FinOps or PaaS fit should be AKS, EKS, or GKE and scale per service, and then with visibility. Enterprise level, micro plus containers, then container apps, app runners, spot compute, and optimize sizing. And for event ones, which is going to be, of course, a serverless, Azure, AWS functions, only pay for execution and great dashboards to see what is happening. And the legacy modernization is going to be containerized monoliths with application service, with Dockers and gradual improvements that would come up with all of that improvements and execution. Right. So this is how the combination of choosing the right set of architecture with the pass and mapping the FinOps on top of it. Right. And FinOps per architecture mapping. So you can see a bit about it. Now, this is something not a complete picture and this is on a high level, but you can see starting from their strategies and then on each of those architectures on monolith, microservice, serverless, and containers, right sizing, auto scaling, observability, and cost visibility, right? So this is something which really needs to be put in together and decide to get the FinOps as well. And we should be able to make use of those appropriately, right? And get the control of cost optimization along with the cost saving opportunities and optimize the resources effectively, right? And here are the few key takeaways from this one, right? From the monolithic to containers. On the monolith, simple, fast, but not cloud native ready, right? On the microservice, granular controls best for scale plus FinOps. On the serverless, which is a cost effective, of course, for event driven workloads. And the containers, bridge for modernization with FinOps visibility, right? So, yep, these are all different architectures which are mapped with the FinOps, and definitely as soon as we do that, we would get a complete control, complete visibility, and then we can gradually expand the same, right? So, yep, that is how it is going to be. And this is the complete architecture mapping with FinOps for applications basically in the cloud platforms. And we have seen the different challenges and different methods and different ways how we can map it with FinOps, how we can optimize the cost, optimize the workloads, what are the ways and capabilities that we can use, right? So yeah, that is all I wanted to show you and talk about. Hope you like it, learned something new, and let me know if you have any questions, any doubts in the comments below. I would be happy to answer and collaborate on it. And yep, thanks for watching. And don't forget to like, share this video with your friends and subscribe to the channel as well. So yep, that's all. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.